Do we have 1, 2, 3, or 4 generational talents in this draft?
Generational talent to me is a guy that is going to win a couple of MVP awards. Derrick Rose to me was a generational talent.
There you go.
His career was cut short because of injuries. And, another fellow Chicagoan that we loved here in Chicago, that they still love here in Chicago. He is beloved. You could tell coming out his rookie year that he was a generational talent. I agree with you. I think Cooper Flagg can be a generational talent. And a lot of people don't know this, that Cooper Flagg, his number one asset is that he plays harder than everyone else. I noticed that when I saw him play in AAU. He's discovered the secret. Well, I can play harder than everybody else, but now his skills are starting to catch up with his effort. And that's when you know that he's going to take an extra leap. Do I see a generational talent in this draft? No. Not really. I don't see a guy. I see a bunch of good players, a bunch of players that are just below generational talent. But, even though this draft is going to be solid, it's going to be great, I don't know whether they have an MVP out of this draft.
I love that answer. And I got one more for you, and we'll go back around the horn. I want to talk to you about Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. And when you were talking about Cooper Flagg and AAU, I saw a video over the weekend of Dylan Harper going off in a game against Cooper Flagg, and Flagg was guarding Harper, right? Like Flagg was like, hell no, I know I'm bigger and stuff like that, but I'm trying to put this fire out, and he couldn't, okay? And Harper's out there, I'm number one, and just woofing the whole game, man, and just showing what an absolute badass he is. And then we see it in the playoffs. How do you resolve Kendall Gill? The De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper dynamic with the reports. I mean, Vassell said it at the post-game presser. Harper wasn't happy with his role. It's since come out that Harper's camp is going to insist on starting this upcoming season. How do you vet that if you're the Spurs?
It's going to be tough because I believe De'Aaron Fox's extension kicks in this coming year. So of course, we know De'Aaron Fox has been a top player in this league a couple of years ago. You could arguably say he was probably top 2, top 3 point guard in the league and when he was with Sacramento. But his role has had to change with the San Antonio Spurs because he's not the top dog anymore. And a lot of people were on him about, De'Aaron Fox was taking too many shots at the end of the game, things like this. Well, that's what he is. That's what he's trying to do. I believe he was the clutch player of the year 2 or 3 times. So you're asking a guy to stop doing what he is used to doing, what he's been successful at. Yeah, his shots weren't going down, at the end of games in this last championship series. But, that's not to say that he won't return to that player. But that being said, the Spurs are in a tough predicament because the way that Dylan Harper played said that I am the man right now. I don't even care about Wemby, okay? He's like, I'm the dude. So, and I was so impressed by his poise. He's playing in Madison Square Garden. Doesn't care whether Spike Lee or all the celebrities are sitting in the front row. Doesn't care whether this game has been broadcast all across the world. He just wants to hoop, and he wants to be the best. That's what I saw, Mm-hmm. So in that case, if I'm the Spurs, I got to find a way, unfortunately, to make room for him. And that could be possibly a trade for De'Aaron Fox. I don't know how you do it, but it's got to be done. Or you got to go to De'Aaron Fox and say, listen, we got this young stud, and we want to bring you off of the bench. But I don't know how you bring a guy that's making max money off of the bench like that.
I don't know. Yeah. I know. And then De'Aaron Fox's camp is going to come out saying, oh, hell no, we're not coming off the bench making 50, right. 55, 60 million a year. And then it's a battle of the camps, and you never want that. The uninsufferable Dr. X, Dwight Walton, either of you guys have another question or two for Kendall?
Yes, I do. Kendall, I want to go back to the NBA draft and talk about the Big Ten Conference. Listen, Michigan is going to have 3 first-round picks, I believe. talking about Adai Mara, Morez Johnson Jr., one of my favorite players outside of the top 10. I think he's a top 10 pick, Yaxel Lundenberg. And from
Right.
your alma mater, Keaton Wagler. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about those four players if you can. I think all
Mm-hmm.
those players will be gone in the top 15, the top 18 in the draft tomorrow night and Wednesday night. Talk about those four players. Listen, first of all, we all understand why Dusty May and those three front court players won the national championship, but also speak to the rise of Keaton Wagler and his ascension into the top 5 out of Illinois.
Well, starting off with Keaton first, came in at the 3-star. Okay. And, I'd heard rumors about how well he was playing last summer against everybody. But when he when he dropped, I believe it was 46 points against Purdue earlier this season in Purdue. Purdue is one of the toughest places in college basketball to play. He had, I believe, 25, and I'm watching the game with my wife and everything. And I said, if he comes back and he drops, and he has another big second half, this kid is a one and done guy. So he comes back, he does exactly that. And I think it's because of the poise that he shows. And I tell people this all the time, you have to know your game as a professional. Keaton Wagler knows his game. He doesn't blow you away with his athleticism. He's not that fast, but he knows how to operate in ball screens. He knows how to get into the paint and either spray the basketball out or use his footwork in order to get baskets. He knows how to get to the free throw line. He reminds me of an unpolished 6'6" Jalen Brunson. That's what he reminds me of. Okay, because you look at Jalen, he doesn't blow you away with his athleticism. He's not particularly quick or fast. He just knows his game, and he knows how to be successful with it. And I think that Keaton probably will go 5 or 6. I know the Clippers have the 5th pick. I think it's between he and Darius Acuff for the 5th pick, but we'll see what happens with that. As far as the Michigan players, as I mentioned before, I love Adai Mara. I hope that the Bulls move up to get him because I don't think he'll get out of the top 10 because of all the intangibles that he has. With Morez Johnson, of course, Morez, another Chicago kid who left my alma mater. Unfortunately, I was upset about that, and then went to our rival Michigan, and then they won a national championship. So, but I'm happy for Morez. I mean, I've been watching him since he was 10, 12 years old here in Chicago, and he is a guy sort of built along the lines of Doran from the Pistons. Doesn't have a polished outside shot, but is big, athletic, 6'9", 6'10", and can really do a lot of dirty work for you. So you're absolutely right about him. I think that he'll be gone by 8, 15, 18 in there. Jackson Lindenberg, older player, but a guy that at 6'9" has a lot of intangibles because in particular, he can play on the outside. In the Big Ten tournament, I watched him. He knocked down a lot of outside shots that I didn't particularly think that he could knock down, but he knocked them down. He's mature. He already has a pro body. I think he's a player that's only going to get better with time because he has all of the different attributes you need for an all-around player. He can play defense. They actually put Yaxel Lindenberg on Keaton Wagler when we played the Michigan Wolverines, and he made it really tough for him, shut him down actually. So and that's the one thing about Yaxel. If I'm a team, I really like, out of all the guys we just talked about, I really like his upside the most because he can do so many things at 6'9".
And that's exactly why I think he's going to end up with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he's going to get to showcase all of that because the thing is, he is an older player. He is 23 years of age, but I think because of his ability to guard multiple positions and his ability to dribble, pass, and shoot, he's going to fit exactly into what Sam Presti, Mark Daniel, and Oklahoma City Thunder want to do. I have a feeling he's going to fall right into their lap. And if they get him, the Thunder, the train keeps going. and it keeps coming. And once they get healthy, they're going to be right back in that championship. They're not out of the mix right now, but if they're healthy next season and they get the opportunity to draft Lundenberg, I think he's an immediate plug and play into their rotation next season. Not as a starter, but I think he'll be in the rotation next season for the Oklahoma City Thunder if he falls into their lap.
No, I totally agree with you. And, you know, we're looking at guys in the Western Conference, San Antonio, Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals for the next 5 years, because they are just the best teams in the Western Conference. I don't see any other team in the Western Conference with the assets that these guys have. And, you know, with the way that Dylan Harper is starting to ascend, you know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, man, he's going to have it tough in the Western Conference, you know, especially when it comes to the Western Conference Finals, because those guys over there have guys that can play him. You know, they have the long length. They're 6'7", 6'6", 6'8", you know, athletic. And then if you are the Oklahoma City Thunder, you're reloading with Yaxel Lindenberg. As you said, if he falls to them, these two, it's going to be like Ali Frazier, man, in the Western Conference for the next 5 years.
I love it. I love it. Anybody got one more? Or should we let Kendall go here? I have one more boxing question for him. Dr. X, you got one more for him?
Yeah, not really a Lakers fan, but I do appreciate Luka's game and him being in LA. I just feel like it's a travesty that doesn't look like they're going to be able to surround him with the right pieces. And what do you see the outlook for Luka in the Lakers and the Lakers organization in general? When do you think they will be in the mix again for a championship?
They're never out of the mix because it's LA, and LA is a free agent destination. You never know. Hell, we don't know. We could be thinking about this Giannis thing, Giannis to Boston, Giannis to Miami, and LA steps in and scoops up Giannis. And now if they do that, now they're right back in play. So, you know, I think that what the Lakers have to do is slowly build. Of course, LeBron is probably at the end of his road. I think that LeBron probably played 1 year, 2 at the most, more. So you have to look at rebuilding from there. But you do have a cornerstone in Luka Doncic, you know. But you got to be able to, if I'm the Lakers, I got to be able to get players like Oklahoma City has amassed, San Antonio. You got to get guys that are long, athletic, that can play defense, that can knock down threes. You got to go with that trend. And, you know, Luka, I love his offense, guys, but he ain't the best defensive player. Okay. So you have to be able to contend with that. But, you know, I think that the Lakers will always be in play.
Thank you.
Luka the Pigeon Doncic. Never mind. All right, last question for you here, Kendall, and we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Who you got in Mayweather-Pacquiao?
Oh, Floyd. I got Floyd again. I mean, Floyd, even though he's almost 50 years old, he still has the skill set. I've been watching him train, and he's still sharp. Yeah, he's still sharp. He's still got his fast twitch reflexes. The one thing that you have to notice about fighters is that when their reflexes go, then that's when they get old. Okay, and Floyd, the last thing to go is the power, but it's the reflexes. You watch the way that Jake Paul fought Mike Tyson back on Netflix about 6-7 months ago. Mike Tyson's his reflexes were gone. Okay, that hasn't happened to Floyd. And don't be surprised, guys. You're hearing this from me first. If Floyd looks good and dismantles Pacquiao, he will call out Terrence Bud Crawford for the biggest fight in history. It will happen. I guarantee you.
Oh, bombshell. There's been several bombshells or whales in the swimming pool.
Hold on, Rick.
By the great Kendall Gill.
Hold on, Rick. Listen, Kendall, once again, thank you for coming on our program once again. Listen, I'd be remiss if we didn't ask you to talk about the late, great Stacey King before you left us today. It was a sad day when he left us. Listen, again, I've met Stacey a couple of times. I've followed him in his collegiate career, throughout his NBA career, multi-champion with the Chicago Bulls, but I think a lot of the fans nowadays knew him as the Bulls color analyst on the Bulls broadcasts. Can you please talk about the man that he was off the floor, the man that he was as a broadcaster, and the personality that the overwhelming sentiment was that he was just a great man overall, great man in the community, and always took his time out to be amongst the fans, amongst the common people, if you will.
No, absolutely. And, happened a couple Sundays ago. And, Stacy and I have a lot of mutual friends, a lot of mutual close friends, as well as Stacy and I were great friends as well. And, I woke up and I did my run and everything. And I look at my phone and one of my friends texts me and says, Stacy passed away. And I'm like, Stacy who? And then he goes, Stacy King. And I'm like, what? And then I immediately pick up my phone and I call Stacy. Of course, there was no answer. But as I am hanging up from Stacy, the Bulls are calling me. So now I know it's true, and, it was just a shock, because anybody with that big of a personality here, not only in Chicago, but nationally, internationally, with so many great calls, you think they're Superman. You think that they'll always live. And Stacy's personality, man, was just so infectious. Not the fans loved him here in Chicago, but his coworkers loved him to death. We loved Stacy. And, as you mentioned, he would always take out time for the fans. After every game, Stacy would sit on the broadcast table and interact with all of the fans in the stadium. I mean, if there was 20,000 people in there, if they all came down, Stacy would take out time for all 20,000. That's the type of guy he was. And he was a true friend. Back in the day, Rick, this, I had to take a couple years off from my broadcast career. I call it a sabbatical. But Stacy always stayed in touch with me. Always, hey, KG, how you doing, man? He'd call me at least once a month just to check in, make sure I was doing all right. And then he was integral in helping me come back to CHSN or NBC Sports Chicago at that time. And, just a great guy. And I feel for his family, my condolences and everything. And, I'm telling you, and to show you how important this guy was, when Stacy, when the news happened with Stacy, and everybody found out in Chicago, it became like it was overcast here in Chicago. It was gray. It started raining, like the city was mourning. That's how important he was to us. Not only as a player, but as a broadcaster, as a man. And he just personified Chicago. And he is going to be greatly missed. The broadcast here will not be the same. And it's just, I'm still actually in shock, guys. I don't believe it still.
Kendall, God bless Stacy. God bless you, all of his friends, his family members. We spent a lot of time the day after he passed talking about it. There were tears shed here on this show. It's beyond sad. It's beyond heartbreaking, and just God bless him on his journey to heaven. Hopefully he's in heaven right now and back home, and I'm getting, caught up right now, but it's unbelievably sad. We're all still in shock, and Kendall, we're just pouring love into you, man, because you were very close to this man.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I mean, we really appreciate it. We're starting to get back to some sense of normalcy here with the Bulls. I mean, we're going to do our first show since Stacy's passing tomorrow with the draft. Normally, he is with us, on set during the show, but we're going to be thinking about him while we do it.
No doubt, Kendall. God bless you, my friend. Always appreciate your time, your wisdom, and your excellence, man. Keep up the great work. Have a great summer, and Kendall will be in touch.
All right.
Thanks, Kendall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you.
I put that back up. I like the swaggy one in the middle here. Look at Kendall on this is like his model shot. That's absolutely fantastic. By the way, Kendall, a fantastic boxer, and boxing trains all the time. I'm